is a whole story of how the spirit world diminished after a great creature in the story named Atamaka Khan basically got too tangled up in human ways, which is goes back to Bob Proctor, right? He got caught up in a lot of mental faculties, and mental faculties are your five senses. So it's basically what you're experiencing from your taste, your smell, your sight, and your hearing, right? Instead of your mental faculties, right? Those are physical faculties, and the mental faculties, right, are your imagination, wonder, and so part of the main story of Matsu is rekindling that after Atomicon explodes and he leaves the spirit world in kind of a misdemeanor. And it really relates a lot to like what's going on now with the coronavirus, in the sense that, you know, a lot of us are staying home and having to reevaluate and reflect on how we have perspective on what's happening in the world and how we relate to it. This named Just Illustrations here on the internet basically wanted to know where the title of the epic story Matsu came from. And what he did is he made an acronym out of what Matsu meant to him. And he broke down the letters MATSU. And he said, making art together, supporting unity. So that's a whole nother concept that has been brought forth by, you know, the project and the book Symphony, and the epic sci-fi fantasy manga tale that I'm telling called Matsu. And that's an aspect that me and Stream Dr. Duck, who are Denki Studios, are bringing to the forefront. Because a lot in Neville Goddard's teaching and a lot of the YouTubers who are translating and updating Neville's spiritual science teachings really don't show how to apply it socially. And I think it's really relevant with the coronavirus, because Stream Dr. Duck is currently in Norway and I'm in Northern California. So both of us are using the spiritual science and applying it to a lot of the art. And I specialize in visual storytelling and poetic epics. And so it's been an incredible experience making art together, supporting unity. And part of that is a very definitive statement, right? Making art together, you really, when you use that as your guideline, you really can't do anything else but make art together. And the key is supporting unity, because also it allows us to use our mental faculties, right, together, and imagine the story, imagine how we work together across many, many miles across the big old pond, right, of the Atlantic Ocean, and how we are bringing together. And currently right now I'm working on a collaboration which is based in the Matsu story, and this is a character named Duck, D-U-K. And Duck meets a kappa yokai who's a very much a star in the story of Matsu, and his name is Taiko. And they meet each other and they really connect on that, you know, they're yokai spirit creatures. And so a lot of their focus is using their mental faculties of imagination, intuition, wonder, curiosity, right, reason, will, and using a lot of their inside stuff to create a new world and a new way of existing. Especially because they existed on Earth, and then Atomicon exploded and he took the spirit world with him, and so they had to migrate to this place called 96542, which is a yokai creature refuge. And it's here on Earth, it's just in a different dimension. And that brings in a lot of my background, which I worked at Lucasfilm. I had the incredible opportunity of working at Lucasfilm. And the whole story epic of Star Wars, to me, is a poetic epic. And Duck has a background in working with Norwegian Disney. And so we have come together to use a lot of the spiritual science in our creation of Denki Studios, our creation of Denki Studios YouTube, and implementing Matsu, which is making art together, supporting unity. And one of the projects that I got to work personally with George Lucas on was his exploration into interactive filmmaking. And so Matsu, because of platforms like Twitch and YouTube and are somewhat interactive, Twitch is very interactive, I've developed the whole story and the plot and everything right here on the interactive medium. And that's where the Matsu comes in, because what I think Matsu really does for me is in Proctor's teachings and all the way from Sadhguru to Muji, right, to Eckhart Tolle, right? They teach a lot of, which came from Think and Grow Rich too, right? The power of the mind to manifest things by visualizing and doing what Neville Goddard calls kin to sleep. So using your imagination to go in an I am state and get into the wish fulfilled and living in the end. And so from Stream Dr. Duck's work with Norwegian Disney and his background, which he was telling earlier about doing the voice for Donald Duck in his native language, Norwegian, has gained an interest to travel to Northern California and come and create in what we've created called Denki Studios. And so we're applying the whole Neville Goddard techniques and Napoleon Hill techniques of visualizing this creative studio that is the next level, that will do storybooks and films and games all around the story of Matsu. And Matsu really brings it together because it allows us to do a lot of the Neville Goddard and a lot of the spiritual, scientific self-development techniques that are very much a part of our times, and really has come forth, especially with the coronavirus, because we're learning how to work in these virtual spaces and work on very creative ideas. And that's where Circuit, who's in the chat right now, has started to explore a lot of his heartfelt ideas, where he basically works as an event planner full-time up in the Seattle, Washington area. Would you say Glitch is the user of the physical faculties, while Ra is the mental? Well, Glitch, yeah, definitely. Glitch is, first of all, Glitch is one of my funky eye puppets. And I have two funky eye puppets, which is a dream come true, a wish fulfilled, because I grew up loving Jim Henson and inspired by what he does with what he has done with puppetry and the monster shop, creature shop, and what Henson Studios has done to bring creatures alive that are positive and fun. And so I have two puppets, the funky eye puppets. There's Ra Mien, he goes by Ra, and he's a blue yokai Tatsu from the story of Matsu. And then he has a sidekick called Glitch, and Glitch is basically kind of he doesn't know what kind of creature he is, and he's very unsure. So he definitely brings the contrast, and he definitely is stuck a lot in mental faculties of just using his senses, but he's also a magical yokai creature. So he's a strange spirit. He's a 21st century folklore creature from the Matsu. And so he provides a lot of contrast because his name is Glitch, right? And his name is Glitch is very prevalent for the times we live in because we have such incredible technology that does it. But then when it glitches, and it's almost a metaphor for what we do, in the sense of a lot of us all around the world have been raised pretty much just to use our mental faculties, right? And not use our imagination to create our reality and create the art we do. And that's where Matsu comes back in again, right? Because filmmaking, like Jim Henson, George Lucas, a lot of my inspirations came from environments that are very collaborative. And like, you know, Star Wars just wasn't made by Lucas, you know, it was made by, you know, a cast of very incredible creators, and they work together. And a lot of it, they trust George, but a lot of the work that, you know, I got to experience when I was working for Lucasfilm, and if I could clarify, I didn't work for Lucas Arts. So I didn't work in the film part. I got the special opportunity to work on George's special ideas. And so, yeah, so to finish the question, yeah, Glitch is pretty much a creature that brings a lot of contrast. Because Ra is definitely, like his name, Ra. He's very raw and genuine, and he definitely, you know, is very empowered by his imagination.